All right, well, we're excited to kick off the high school options process this year for the class of 2026. During tonight's presentation, you will hear an overview of high school in Portland in general and the requirements that apply for all students to ensure that every student graduates prepared and empowered. You'll get a brief kind of snippet of each of our 3 high schools in our Career Technical Education Center. And we'll talk a little bit about the options process to make sure that you have the information you need to make the best choice for your student and your family in terms of high school in Portland. And then we'll leave a generous amount of time at the end of the evening to begin the question and answer section, knowing that you will get the opportunity to engage deeply with each of our schools in their open houses in the coming weeks. So during tonight's presentation, you'll get a chance to hear from Superintendent Botana, the leaders of our 3 high schools and our Career Technical Education Center. So the co-principals at Deering, Dr. Ahmed and Ms. Dame, Ms. Jepson, our principal at Portland High, and Mr. Pierce, our principal at Casco Bay, and Mr. Stilfen, our director at the Paths Career Technical Education Center. And lastly, you'll get a chance to hear from Ms. Molly Myers, who's our coordinator of supports and transitions for the district, as she talks about the importance of 9th grade for your students. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to the superintendent to give us a little bit of an introduction as you welcome your students into high school for this coming year.
Thank you, Aaron, and good evening, everyone. I'm very glad you were able to join us for this kickoff to one of the features of the Portland Public Schools that we're extremely excited about, and it's this opportunity for all of our students to evaluate and determine which of our amazing 3 high schools is the right fit for them, and also to learn a little bit about our Career and Technical Education Center, which is an amazing set of programs and that is available to students at all of our schools, regardless of which one you wind up choosing. This is, as Mr. Townsend said, the kickoff to our choice process this year. And you will have, as a result of tonight, have a good overview of the schools, and then we'll have an opportunity to delve more deeply into each of those schools over the coming weeks. So most of you are already in the Portland Public Schools, so you know a little bit about our focus as an organization. We're very proud to focus on becoming a more just and equitable school system as part of becoming a more just and equitable community. And so our Portland Promise, which is our strategic plan, guides that work. And at the center of that is the notion that as a school district, we are committed to eliminating the factors that contribute to variable outcomes. So we want to basically do everything within our power to be able to ensure that all of our students, regardless of any of the factors that they bring, are able to access and benefit from our opportunities. And to do that, we do things like, having this session with multiple interpretation, which we hope to have working shortly as a way to make sure that everybody in our community has access to the information that they need to be able to make these choices of schools, and in the process strengthen our families' commitment to and engagement in the work that we're doing in the schools. I think you'll also learn as part of this conversation that we have a tremendous number of partners in our community that support the work that we're doing and that are visible in the programs and practices at each of our schools. And so you'll be learning more about that over the course of the evening. Next slide, please. So, our Portland Promise guides us, and when we think about what it is that we try to achieve as a result of a Portland Public Schools education, our focus is on making sure that every one of our students graduates what we like to think is prepared and empowered. And so there's lots of things that go into being prepared and empowered, but in a nutshell, what it is that, students have the knowledge and skills that they need to be able to be successful at that next level. And that as a result of their time with us, as a result of their education in the Portland Public Schools, they will also be empowered to know what it is that they want to do next. So our job is to give them the knowledge and skills, and also to help them develop the dispositions and have the insights into themselves and what they want to be in the future, so that when they leave our 12 years, that they will be in a place where they know what's next. So again, I just want to welcome everyone. I'm really sorry that we're having technical difficulties. For those who are not able to understand me, I apologize for that. And hopefully we will get that resolved before the end of this. And again, I just want to welcome everyone and know that today will be an exciting first step in that process.
Great. Thank you very much, Superintendent Botana, for welcoming us. For any student in Portland Public Schools, there are 4 essential requirements to help you develop as prepared and empowered graduates. The first 2, the Maine learning results and Maine guiding principles, are demonstrated through mastery of your courses over your time in high school. The capstone project is a significant project that typically happens during the senior year and involves an in-depth research project and a final presentation, generally, though it's been a little tough in COVID times, to some kind of authentic audience around the issue that you're focused on. And then finally, to ensure that you are prepared and empowered for your life after Portland Public Schools, each student develops a post-secondary success plan to map out those steps and ensure they are taking the courses and steps they need while in high school to be prepared for their life after Portland Public Schools. In terms of the learning results and guiding principles, those, as I said, really live within the courses that you take, that students will take over their 4 years of high school. In Portland, students are required to earn 21 units of proficiency to graduate. As you can see, those are spread across many of the different core content areas. And given the number of requirements, it's essential for students to have a strong start in the 9th grade to be prepared to graduate on time. Units of proficiency are the new name we use to refer to kind of credits as we continue to focus on the development and mastery of those essential knowledge, skills, and dispositions that the superintendent talked about that really are the core of what helps students be prepared and empowered for their lives to come after Portland Public Schools. Within Portland, we are lucky to have 3 great high school options and our own local career technical education center. You'll get a chance to hear from those school leaders shortly about their programs, but we're excited to have Casco Bay, Portland High, and Deering as the 3 choices for students in 9th grade. And as you'll learn, the opportunity for students to extend their learning at Paths in the 11th and 12th grade. Across all of our schools, we provide robust programming and supports to meet the needs of any learner. Examples include offering the Seal of Biliteracy or the STEM endorsement at any school, providing English learner and special education programs for all students, providing early college or dual enrollment in AP classes, providing guidance and other social emotional supports. Students may access a variety of sports and clubs and other co-curriculars at any of their schools, and you'll get a chance to learn much more about those at the school's open houses in the coming weeks. All of our schools engage with their parents through parent-teacher conferences and regular newsletters. And students can access, in high school, students take the metro to get to school, and you can access any of our schools from any part of town through that system. So we provide a real wide array of programming and opportunities for all students to make sure any student could be successful at any one of our schools. I'd like to now introduce briefly Ms. Molly Myers, who's our Coordinator of Academic Supports and Transitions, to talk a little bit about the importance of ninth grade as you and your students prepare for this important year next year.
Thanks, Aaron. Hi, everybody. I'm so glad you're here. For those of you who've had a ninth grader already in the high schools, the transition from 8th to ninth grade has a lot of changes for students. They are going from an old school to a new school, new teachers, new expectations, friend groups are disrupted. And because of that, across the nation, students are more likely to fail a ninth grade class than any other grade in their schooling. To this end, school and family partnerships and communication are essential because attendance is the greatest factor in school success. So getting students to school, students who go to school and are in class, pass their classes, and are 4 times more likely to graduate on time than students who do not. Ninth grade is often known as the make or break year, and I think that's an unknown idea for a lot of people, so it's an important year. Students at any high school will be taking pretty much the same kinds of classes: an English class, a social studies class, math and science, and then a choice for many from a variety of electives. Each school offers honors options, and and different factors will go into placing students in honors. And finally, to help the students in that transition, both in terms of belonging and feeling a sense of belonging, as well as academic supports, each school has a variety of supports. The first one is freshman teams, where teams of teachers meet regularly to both kind of plan curriculum and as well as support and talk about individual students and how to support those students. They also have built-in social emotional supports that you already know about. If you know about the advisory systems at the middle schools, those will continue on into ninth grade and beyond, so that every student has an adult they trust in the building. And then there's academic supports built into every school. So there's kind of academic blocks, but also portions of time where students who fall behind can catch up before the end of the school year so they can be on track by the time they end ninth grade.
Great. Thanks, Molly, for emphasizing the importance of ninth grade and that partnership, and appreciate everybody being here this evening as part of that. We're going to transition to our school presentations in just a moment. Maureen or Grace, is there any update on translation before we make this transition?
Nope. I cannot seem to figure out how to make it work. I apologize.
Okay. Again, our apologies, and know that we have a wide range of folks in the audience, so we'll continue. So first up, we're going to spend a few minutes just hearing an overview from each of our high schools, and so I'd like to introduce Derek Pierce, the principal at Casco Bay High School.
Good evening, everybody. It is my great pleasure to be here with my friends and colleagues, Mr. Stilfen from PAS, and Ms. Jepson from Portland High, and Dr. Ahmed, and Principal Dame from Deering High School. And thank you, Aaron, for introducing, and Molly and Javier as well. So good evening, everybody. I'm here to tell you a little bit about Casco Bay High School. We believe very much that the purpose of education is to have each kid fulfill their deepest potential, and then to use that potential to do good in the world. And therefore that motto, get smart to do good. So Casco Bay High School is the smallest of the 3 high schools. We're capped at about 100 students per grade. Our demographics reflect, happily, Portland's. We have about 30 teachers who are awesome and very much at the core of our success. And we emphasize 3 things equally in our work with kids. We want all kids to be pushed as far as they can be pushed. That's the rigor. We want the work they do to be meaningful and to really matter. That's the relevance. And we want our kids to feel fully connected to one another, to their teachers, and to their community. Because we know that when kids feel that they can be their full selves at school, they're more likely to do their best work. We are the youngest of the three high schools present. Our venerable folks on Cumberland Ave are celebrating their 200th. We are but 17 years old. This is actually my 17th year there, so it seems a little longer in my lifetime, but we are still the kids on the block. We are intentionally small, and the point is to hopefully get to know your kids super well so that we can customize what we do and help them realize their best selves. And we're what's called an expeditionary learning high school. We're part of a national school reform movement called EL Education. Presumpscott and King Middle School are also a part of that network of schools. And that means that our students engage in long-term interdisciplinary projects that hopefully result in something that is extraordinary and expands the kid's sense of both what they can do and the impact they can have on the world. So right now, our ninth graders are engaged in a Wabanaki Studies unit in which they're developing educational materials that will hopefully benefit future generations of Portland Public School students in K through 8. Our 10th graders are involved in an expedition called Brave Spaces, Brave Voices that centers around the book Stamped, as well as a look at the history of both racism and anti-racism efforts in the United States, and where sophomores are developing podcasts that will be a companion to that text. The 11th grade is focused on climate justice and particular public policy issues that can make a difference in our battle to save our planet. And then the seniors design their own expedition. It's that capstone that Assistant Superintendent Townsend referred to, where they get to design something that fulfills their passion and a need in the world. So we have seniors this year looking at everything from the mental health professionals to how to preserve our coral reefs. So what's next? We are first up in the open house lineup. You'll hear about all the open houses. We each have an opportunity for you all to visit not really. I can virtually visit our schools through a webinar, but a deeper dive and a deeper look at our schools. Ours is next Tuesday night from 6:30 to 8. You can find the links to our event and all the events on the High School Choices website or on the Casco Bay website for ours. We are capped at 100 per grade, and so if we have more than 100 students interested, we'll need to have a lottery. And that would those forms are due for that by January 18th. If we need to hold a lottery, that will all be taken care of by January 28th. So folks will have a sense of where they stand before February. And note that that's a couple weeks earlier than we've done it in past years to try and make a slightly more compressed process. So folks know their options earlier in the year. And then if we once we get to spring, we'll have an orientation for our new students on May 26th. So I very much hope to see, as many of you as I possibly could via webinar format next Tuesday night at Casco Bay on the webinar from 6:30 to 8. And now I'll pass it on to my next colleague.
Great. Ms. Dame and Dr. Ahmed, good evening.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Allison Dame, and I'm one of two co-principals at Deering High School. I'll let my colleague introduce himself as well.
And good evening, everyone. My name is Abdullahi Ahmed, and I am one of the co-principals at Deering High School. Ms. Dame.
So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight. Here you see Deering's building and our beautiful 11-acre campus. Deering has been voted the most beautiful high school in Maine, and we feel very lucky to be able to walk right out our doors onto sports fields and tennis courts, including our lighted turf at Memorial Field. At Deering, we are driven by the belief that we will succeed together if everyone is valued, challenged, and empowered. And we see those as being very interdependent on one another. We know that as human beings, we need to feel like we matter. We need to be challenged to push ourselves. And we need to have opportunities to lead and contribute to our community and feel empowered to do so. So in all of our programs, we are driven by the goal of achieving those three things for our students and ourselves. To challenge and empower all students, we know that all students are going to need access to rigorous and engaging curriculum. And so for that reason, Deering is a challenge by choice school. What that means is that we are ready to support any student who wants to take a risk and take a challenging course, regardless of their previous experience or circumstance. We don't believe that access to challenging courses should depend on a student's past or the advocacy of engaged parents, but we believe all students deserve that chance. So one of the ways we live that out is that we do we enroll all ninth graders in AP Human Geography, which is a challenging, rigorous, but also very relevant course. And we provide some of our strongest teachers and our tutoring support to that, so that students get a chance to start to be exposed to that challenging curriculum right from the get-go. Sorry. Our course catalog also offers 15 other AP classes, as well as several dual credited courses ranging from African American history to calculus. We also offer our 4x4 schedule also facilitates the ease of access to local college classes, like SMCC courses and USM courses. And Deering has more students enrolled in local college courses than any other high school in Southern Maine. One major way that we empower all students is our wide array of athletics and co-curriculars, where many students find opportunities to find their voice and lead in ways that they may not in our classroom. A few recent highlights to point out are that in the first 2 ever seasons of esports in Maine, Deering were the state champs, and we are currently the #1 seed in now their 3rd season. Also, our debate team just this past weekend came in 2nd at a local debate tournament. But we don't want you to take our word for it. So here we've compiled a few quotes from Deering students and recent grads. And you'll notice a couple themes. The relationships and community are really what Deering students take away from their experience at our school. So a recent grad, Aiden, said, "It's the connections that you get through all the different programs. That's what really connects you, and that's what brings the community together." Our current senior, Khalid, was remembering back to freshman year and said, "I didn't really know a lot of people, and no one knew me. When you walk in, everyone's going to treat you like family. It may be a little daunting to start high school, but take that with a grain of salt. These people will welcome you with open arms." Lynn, who was our salutatorian last year, noticed there's this rigor component and this academic component at Deering. You can take AP classes. We have someone going to Columbia and someone going to Yale. Deering's community has helped them to get where they are now. And finally, Nazik, who was speaking in this quote as a freshman, said it's very inclusive, and the teachers talk to you about what you want to do and your aspirations for after high school. So I want to thank everyone again for joining us tonight. And we very much hope that you'll join us on December 16th for our open house, where you can hear from more students, hear from Deering parents, meet our faculty, and we will use breakout rooms to allow for some interactivity, even in the virtual format. So thanks again.
Great. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Ms. Sheila Jepson, our principal of Portland High School.
Good evening. Thank you, Erin, and thanks everybody for being here this evening. I'm happy to talk about Portland High School and the experience that your students will get if they choose to come to us. As you know, our location is in the heart of downtown, and we like to say that the city is our campus, and that affords many opportunities for field trips and extended learning opportunities and internships right within walking distance of our school. Our staff are innovative, engaging, and dedicated, and they are really the core of our program and offerings. And they are so focused on making connections with students. Our diverse student population really makes us who we are, and our students have many opportunities to share their talents. One of the things that Next slide, Erin. One of the things that we have our huge focus for ninth grade is our freshman academy, which we're in year 9 of the freshman academy, and that supports your students' entry to high school and the transition from middle school to high school. We know, as Molly mentioned, all of the changes that happen from middle school to high school. So we have a dedicated teacher who leads the work of our ninth grade teams and also does some teaching. And our focus in ninth grade really is developing community and making connections and relationships, establishing supports in the transition. So if you need support in math or in English, we're there for you. Really centering on academic and personal growth. And all ninth graders take a class called Freshman Seminar. And in Freshman Seminar, they learn about grit and perseverance, and they go over topics that are current to the year. For example, they might be talking about social media, they talk about test taking and other social and emotional learning topics. When students come to Portland High, we will take them where they're at and get them where they want to go. I believe students find their place when they're at Portland High, and there are many opportunities for them to experience something new, from an art class to a film history class, and a wide variety of courses that we all offer at our high schools. And most importantly, our students will graduate prepared and be ready for whatever their interests are when they leave us. We hope you will join us for our virtual open house on Monday, December 20th at 6:30. And we look forward to seeing you then via webinar and participating in our whatever questions you have about our school. Thanks.
Great. Thank you so much, Ms. Jepson. I'm excited to introduce Mr. Kevin Stilfen, our director of the Portland Arts and Technology High School. Mr. Stilfen.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. Take this opportunity to talk to you about paths. Once your student chooses one of these excellent high schools to attend as freshmen, they will start hearing more about paths. Paths is Portland's is part of the Portland Public Schools, and we are a career and technical education school. Rebranded, think vocational education from the past. Paths, a short overview. Your student, if they choose to come to Paths, will still attend Casco Bay, Portland, or Deering, so they'll end up with a diploma, high school diploma from those schools. But what they will get from Paths is opportunities to earn certifications and articulated college credits with the community college system. Paths has 2 sessions, half day in the morning or half day in the afternoon. And they attend, our model is to attend over the course of 2 years. There are some rules that we deliver 350 hours of instruction per year for our students to be able to get what they need to prepared for their certifications. We are open to sophomore, juniors, and seniors. The thing, there is no cost, no financial cost. We pay for any certification exams. They work on state-of-the-art equipment. And what we're really trying to do is give the students a taste of a potential career path that they may be interested in, and a taste of the world of work. We do recruitment will start for us for next year's fall class in about 4 weeks. Your students will start hearing about paths probably towards the end of their freshman or into their sophomore year. One of the things that we're looking at in CTE education is increased access for students in that 9th and 10th grade year. And we're developing a CTE exploratory program for students, a semester-long program, class for students in 9th and 10th grade who they might want to get a sort of sense of where they want to go. And the secret to success at all of our schools, but is attendance. If your student decides they want to visit PAFs and they find a program of passion for themselves, the key is showing up and coming to school every day. Because of the fact that our students bus in from different schools in Cumberland County, if they miss a lot of school, they get behind, and it's very hard to get caught up. I use the sort of statement that it's hard to get caught up because you don't have thousands of dollars worth of automotive equipment to work at your high school. You have to be at PAF. So attendance is such an important element to success at PAF. So the value added for the students is national certifications, college credits, hands-on learning, and career education. And we have to be very plugged into the world of work because it changes from year to year. We've learned lessons about remote learning that we apply now to the world of work, because a lot of businesses now are saying your professional development will be remotely delivered to you as an employee. So we're able to work with students and get them to understand that these are the things that are coming, and these are the things that we want you to be able to do and understand as they progress through their time at PAFs. We'll go to the next slide. Thanks for your time, and I do look forward to meeting your students over the course of the next couple of years. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Stilfen, and thank you to all of our amazing school leaders. Without their amazing school leaders and school staff, we wouldn't have these 4 awesome options for our incredible students and families in Portland. So to wrap up tonight, just want to take a few reminders about kind of the opportunities and process moving forward to help your student and your family make the choice that'll be best for you for high school for the coming years. So first, a few things you may want to consider as you think about which school might be the best choice. You may want to think about location. You may want to think about size and schedule, the learning model, the different kind of supports available, or the sports and clubs that are of particular interest to help find those passions and be able to explore them as you grow into high school. Additionally, as you engage with the schools and their open houses, some questions that we would throw out for you to consider are how do schools diagnose and learn what every student needs to be prepared for college, and how does your programming support each student's growth? How are you adapting your curriculum to be more representative, promote critical thinking, and develop understanding of diverse perspectives? And how do you know your alumni have gone on to lead lives of purpose? So we invite folks to consider these and some of those other factors as you make decisions over the coming weeks about which high school feels like the best fit for you. And we want to encourage you to be an active participant with your child in making this choice together. As we said earlier, it's that school, family, student, parent or guardian, and school team connection that is so important to support students through this transition and to prepare them for an incredible high school experience and to make sure that they are successful. So a few quick things around process. You've heard from each of the schools about the school-based virtual open houses. Those will be coming over the next few weeks. I'll share the dates in just a moment. In early January, when we come back, as we did last year, there will be a virtual visit day for all 8th graders to be able to visit all 3 of the high schools, Casco Bay, Deering, and Portland, to get a sense of those experiences and for students to hear directly from current students and other staff about what it is like to be a student at those schools. This year, as Mr. Pierce mentioned, we have moved up the deadlines a little bit. So by January 18th, you should complete your letter of commitment, and if interested in Casco Bay, the lottery form. Those should be turned into the middle school counselors. So the 8th grade counselors that your students work with right now at either King, Lincoln, or Lyman Moore. The forms go to them. the Casco Bay Lottery will be held by January 28th. So Casco Bay will be in touch with students and families there to confirm before we go to the February break, so that all students will know their schools of choice as you go into the February break this year. Lastly, here's a few of the dates that were mentioned. So we have next week, we have Casco Bay and Deering on Tuesday and Thursday evenings. And then on Monday, December 20th, before we head off to the winter holiday, Portland will have its open house, virtual open house event. So all of these will be virtual, and translation will be provided for each. And then in January, we'll have a deeper opportunity for students to learn about paths. Again, you all as incoming 9th grade families, the class of 2026, would be welcome to join for that, but that'll be open to other students and families as well as they think about the opportunities available to them at paths. Lastly, as you've gotten a chance to meet all of the leaders of our incredible schools and a very amazing group of leaders that I'm fortunate to work with, their names and the school websites are posted here. And I'll take just a minute before we transition to Q&A to also share briefly the high school choice website that was referred to earlier. So let me move so on our home page, as you can see on the main home page, there's a little tile that says choosing a high school. When you click on that from the home page, that will take you to the high school choice website that has all of the links and information. So this Zoom link will be updated with the actual video and the PowerPoint from tonight. And you have all of the links for all the various open houses as they go through here, and information about each of the schools, including your choice form and where to submit that. There's more information here on the side about each of the individual schools. And again, on the events page, holds all of the information about the upcoming events, the open house Zooms, and we'll be posting the virtual visit ones here as well, and all of the information that you may need to help inform your choice for high school for this coming year. So we thank you all for joining us, and we'd like to turn it over to question and answer for the remainder of our time for this evening. So Maureen, before we do that, I think if we can just do a quick update to some of our multilingual families about, from each of our translators, about providing the access and supports to tonight's presentation.
Okay, so interpreters, I think it would be best if you check your attendee list and see if you have any families who tried to join us tonight who couldn't help, who we couldn't help. We will have the video available, the recording, and we will be able to share it with families and can help them with their interpreter needs. So I think that would be best. And Erin, you can't see the question and answer still? So would you like me to read the ones that have been posted? Okay, so I'll read the ones that were answered just so everyone has an opportunity to hear the answers, and then I'll read the ones that have not been done yet. So there was a question about why are 4 years of English required for students to graduate?
That's one of the ones that hasn't been answered yet, right, Maureen?
It has been answered, but I didn't know if I should read it for the whole group, or do you just want to leave those separate?
If those are viewable to all, then I think we don't need to read them. So I think we can move to the unanswered questions and get moving into those.
Okay. How can parents and students learn about special education and GT supports in each high school?
I would suggest coming to the open houses for sure, and then you're welcome to follow up with each of us with an email, and we can connect you with the right staff if you wanted to talk in greater detail about your child's particular needs. But all of our schools are are ready and excited to accommodate the full range of learners.
For students with special needs, will there be an option for an in-person visit?
Unfortunately, given the current COVID climate and the ongoing increase in cases, we are not planning for in-person visits currently. Again, as Mr. Pierce said, if there's a particular need, I think working with your current case manager to reach out, set up a conversation to figure out and make sure those kinds of supports, will be available for that individual student, are definitely open to. Each of the schools has a liaison that supports the special ed program that can be a great resource as well, in addition to our school leaders. So a number of ways to kind of access that, but unfortunately, in the current COVID moment, we're not planning for in-person visits this year.
Will there be, or is there a navigation guide for the Metro bus routes?
Yes, we have that posted on our transportation website. It gets updated. We work closely with Metro to align schedules and collaborate with them to try and make the Metro experience as efficient as possible for high school students.
I'm going to paraphrase this. Is there any difference in class size within the 3 different schools?
Don't think dramatically so. I mean, we're set up so that our ratio of teacher to student is comparable across the 3 high schools.
Right. And I think it ranges probably between 15 and 25, generally.
What times do the high schools start, and will this change when the COVID restrictions are fully lifted?
I mean, our hours at all the high schools are 8:20 to 2:50, and that wasn't a COVID decision. So maybe Aaron, you could speak to if that's going to be shifted at all.
That will not shift this year. It doesn't mean that it won't shift somewhere down the road, but it will not change for next year.
There was a question about how many students go to Deering and how many students go to Portland.
So I think there's we're just over 900, about 910 at Portland High.
We're about 730 at last count.
And I think we answered the questions about the application process or when that is due. I don't know if you just want to repeat that one more time, Aaron.
Sure. Yep. The choice form, the letter of commitment form, will also be available through the 8th grade counselors. It's available on the high school choice website, as we said, and it's due back to the middle school counselors. So again, goes back to your current school and their counselors by January 18th.
All right. I don't see any new questions. Give everybody another minute to type them in. This is a specific Deering question. What support is available for students who have an IEP to make sure they succeed in the required AP Human Geography course?
So our schedule includes a learning center time, and teachers have worked to create strategic small groups during that learning center time so that students do get extra support. It's something, part of our culture is always to pay attention to data and to make sure that the programs we're using are working. And we're doing that here in this case. And if you come to our open house, you'd have the opportunity to hear from some students who may have been intimidated by that at first, but have come to really enjoy the course.
And our special education case managers work closely with the teachers who are teaching the course as well.
So question, Aaron, if a student doesn't get into Casco Bay, if they chose that and don't get in, where will they go?
So there is on the on the forms, there's a space to indicate your second choice, so that they could select the second choice, be it either Deering or Portland, if they don't get in. So we would encourage that, so that they can end up in one of those schools. If a student doesn't turn in an assignment form, then they would be assigned by their neighborhood. Again, we work to get all students to turn one in, but if that happened to be the case. But there's space to indicate Casco Bay and then a backup choice if you're not successful in the lottery.
And just to give some additional context, probably between 70 to 85% of kids who turn in a form on time expressing interest in Casco Bay get offered a spot before the start of the school year. So it hasn't been everybody, but it has been the majority of folks tend to get offered a spot. It does vary year to year, and we can't anticipate what it might look like this year, but that's historically how it's worked.
Yep. Erin, if you're a family who lives in Portland, but your student isn't currently in one of our middle schools, who do they reach out to since they don't have a middle school guidance counselor?
They're certainly welcome to reach out to me. We can ensure that their choice form gets worked into the process. So, or reach out to the principals, at each of the high schools. So at Portland, Ms. Jepson, Mr. Pierce, or Dr. Ahmed or Ms. Dame. So any of us can be a resource for students who aren't currently enrolled in PPS.
Right. And we also have a guidance counselor who is assigned to incoming ninth grade to respond to questions that families might have. So if you let me know, I can let that counselor know and they can make contact with you.
Languages do the schools offer as part of the World Language Program in high school?
Mm-hmm.
I can speak to.
Go ahead, Allison.
Okay, sorry, Sheila. We have French, Spanish, Arabic, and Mandarin Chinese at Deering.
And at Portland, we have French, Spanish, and Latin. And we also offer sign language as an elective course.
We offer French, Spanish, and Mandarin Chinese. And I think at all the schools, too, kids have access to take courses at USM, and sometimes they offer additional languages like German and Italian.
Mm-hmm.
Get into honors classes at any or all of the schools?
Sorry, Maureen, what was the first part of that question?
How do you get into honors classes?
You sign up. You sign up. We don't have a particular level that, if you want to take the course, an honors course, you sign up for it.
And in all our schools, we encourage students to just take higher level classes. So push them out, a little bit out of their comfort level. So guidance counselors, teachers, ourselves, we encourage them to take, challenging classes and stretch.
And we also have conversations with the middle school guidance counselors and the teachers of the students, right? They're eighth grade teachers, and talk about the kinds of courses they will want to take and at what level. So there's a lot of communication that goes on between staff, counselors, and teachers.
Yeah, it's somewhat similar to Casco Bay. It's, honors level work and AP courses and college courses are open to anybody who's interested. It's just based not necessarily on the class you sign up, but for the work you're willing to take on. And so it's possible that you may start a class not pursuing honors work and then get into it and in the middle of a trimester switch to be going after honors. So it's based on the work that you do. Rather than a particular course title, but you can achieve with honors and do honors level work in any course we offer.
Casco Bay offer athletics?
Yeah, so our students primarily play sports through Portland or Deering High School. So they can access the full array of sports that Portland Public Schools offers. They just have to choose if they're going to play with the Rams or play with the Bulldogs. We have our own ultimate Frisbee team, but otherwise we take advantage of the fact that as a small school, our kids can play on Class A level sports by being a part of Portland and Deering's athletic programs. We have our own clubs at school and do things from math team to the musical on our campus. But our sports, we are fortunate to partner with Deering and Portland in making that happen. And kids can take bus to get there and participate just like any kid would at those two high schools.
And generally for that, students select. I think that's part of the process as a ninth grader, that you select which school, meaning you can't play soccer for Deering and basketball for Portland and tennis for, you have to choose one school and stay with that school for the entirety of your time at Casco Bay.
Okay, good. Portland High has more students attending than Deering. Is this because of popularity, where people live, or the quality of education?
I think we're incredibly proud of, the quality offerings at each of our high schools. So, there's the opportunity for a strong, rigorous education at each of them. Over the history in Portland, the school enrollment has kind of waxed and waned, gone up and down a little bit at each of the schools. So at this moment, Portland is a little bit higher, and Deering has a little bit smaller enrollment. But in the past, it was just the opposite, where Deering had a little bit larger enrollment and Portland had a little bit smaller. So we think any student can have an incredible experience at any of our three high schools.
I heard from Deering that they offer access to college courses. Is this something that Portland and Casco also offer?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, we do. We offer dual enrollment courses as at all three schools, and AP courses at all of our schools as well.
Yeah.
And then there's a program called that student can take any class that they want at USM or SMCC if it fits into their daily schedule, which for a lot of students it does, or they might even take a course in the late afternoon or early evening.
We end up with about probably between each year, 50 to 60% of our graduates graduate with college credit through either USM course, SMCC, or an AP qualifying score.
Can students take multiple languages?
Yes, definitely. And that might be a good moment to mention our Seal of Biliteracy, which again is shared across the three high schools. So students who show proficiency in any language other than English, and we have native speakers and, native English speakers, who have earned that through the study of language, and also multilingual speakers who take that. But that's something you can graduate without in your diploma as a Seal of Biliteracy.
And Portland led the way with that, right? The state has now adopted it, but Portland led the way with the seal.
Mm-hmm.
Something to be very proud of.
Yep.
Portland High School, a fully open campus.
Yes, we are. We're open campus at lunchtime. Students can leave and go to any of the area businesses for lunchtime. Like others during the day, students are in the building. They can only leave the building for lunchtime.
Deering is the same.
Casco Bay is the same.
Do you have to do honors for the whole year if you sign up? Or are you able to stop if it gets way too difficult?
Yeah, you're able to stop. You're able to change levels either up or down, and that depends on a conversation with the family, the teacher, and your school counselor.
Yeah, we definitely want to find out what is the reason and what supports that we need to put in place for you for the student to succeed in their placement. So we will work with the students, and if we see that this is not the time that you're ready for, then we will work with you.
Of our high schools offer an IB program?
Not currently. No.
Is there bus service to all schools?
Yes, there is metro service to all three high schools, and all four schools, Casco and Paths share a campus. But yes, metro service is available for all. And then for some students with a individual education plan who are in special education, if transportation is part of that, we also certainly continue to provide that for some specific students to any of the campuses.
And there's a particular loop, 9A and B, that's devoted just to go into a loop to the high schools in different directions. So most kids somehow intersect with a 9A or B if they're coming on the metro. And it runs more frequently around the beginning of school and at the end of school.
High school provides French language. I believe you all provide French.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All three high schools provide French. You mentioned American Sign Language as an elective at PHS. Does this mean it's not considered a language course?
That's correct. It's not a world language course. It is an elective. It's offered only in a semester. So we have level 1 and level 2 in a semester, whereas the world language courses are year long. And that primarily has to do with staffing because we work with staff from the Baxter School for the Deaf. And the course is not set up to meet the world language requirements. But it does set students on a course to take another course, that's where they might go to USM to take a college level ASL class.
One small thing I'll mention too is that we do have the ability for students to take a particular class. And that question reminded me that we've had Casco Bay kids go take ASL at Portland High, and we've had some kids take Arabic at Deering High. So if there's a particular course that's only offered at one of the schools, sometimes students, if the schedule works, can do what's called a common block class and take one class at one of the other high schools.
You mentioned at Casco Bay Ultimate Frisbee. Do Portland or Deering have Ultimate Frisbee teams?
Mm-hmm. There is a community Ultimate Frisbee team that our students play on at Portland.
Not at this time at Deering, but we are always adding activities based on student interest.
Police on campuses?
No, so none of our schools have school resource officers. We maintain a cooperative and productive relationship with Portland Police, and our partners in keeping our community safe. But no schools currently have police on campus.
About Freshman Academy at Portland High.
I'm sorry, what's the question?
Can you speak a little bit more about Freshman Academy?
Oh, sure. And you'll hear specifically about our Freshman Academy at our open house on the 20th. But essentially what it is students are put in a team. There's a team of teachers, English, math, science, and social studies. This year we have 3 teams. Some years we have 2 teams. It just depends on our enrollment. There's a special educator that's part of the 9th grade academy and an EL teacher who's also part of the 9th grade team. And so students are put on those teams, and they have that core group of teachers as their teachers. And the Freshman Academy staff meet weekly in support meetings, and they, discuss the supports that are needed for students and, deal with any kind of, they look at where a student might be slipping a little bit, and then they try to have an impact on how can we have a student, how can we get the student back on track? So it's a really, because they meet so regularly, they really know what's going on with the student, and they know at the time that they can intervene and do so. When you come to our open house, the bulk of our program that night will be talking about the 9th grade academy, and you'll meet the teachers and the teacher leader and hear from students.
The only high school with a sailing team?
It's a cooperative sailing team, so we have a number of sports between our schools that are combined. So, for example, we have a field hockey team that's Portland and Deering. Our sailing team is Portland, Deering, and Casco. Include Casco in that. We have our swim teams are cooperative.
Hockey.
But hockey, both girls and boys hockey are both Deering and Portland teams. So we have a number of sports that are combined.
That's the last question I see.
Great. Well, thank you all. This has been, hopefully an informative evening, and just to kind of kick off the process for the year. So we know that the next, event on the horizon are the school open houses that you've heard about tonight. So first up, next Tuesday with Casco Bay, December 16th with Deering High, and then Monday, December 20th with Portland High's open house events, where you can get much deeper and hear from a much broader range of teachers, students, and other staff from the schools about their experiences there to help inform your understanding. So thank you all for joining us this evening. Please feel free to, again, reach out to any of the school leaders or school staff, or reach out to us centrally. We'll be able to, we're happy to help you navigate this process. And remember that your commitment forms are due to your middle school counselors by January 18th in the new year. All right.
And again, we apologize to our multilingual families for our inability to get that function to work this evening. We will have the recording, and we will reach out to us at 874-8135, and we will do our best to help inform you about tonight's event.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Good night.